Hello, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Beth Ann. Today I'm doing my November wrap up, and it's a sad little wrap up. I read 4 hard copy books and then 1 Kindle book, so 5 total, which feels like it's not very much, but it's still more than I was reading each month before I started my booktube channel, so we're going to count it as a win. And the reason that I read less this month is because I did a fair amount of traveling. So I was in Ireland for a week at the beginning of the month, and I posted a book haul from that trip. And you can go to my Instagram to see some photos if you want, links to those things down below. And I didn't really read while I was traveling except on the airplanes. And then I spent over a week with my family for Thanksgiving and didn't get a ton of reading done then either. So, oh well, let's see what I can fit into, not November, December before the end of the year. So, okay, my 5 books. So the first book that I finished in the month of November, I talked a little bit about in my October wrap-up actually, because I'd already finished it by the time I filmed that. This is book 2 in Rebekah Weatherspoon's Beards and Bondage series. This is Sanctuary, and in October I read the first book in the series, Haven. And then in November, the last book that I finished was the 3rd book in this trilogy, which is Harbor. And these books were really fun, and I feel like they really, the series really reached its pinnacle in this 3rd book, Harbor. And I think that's partly because there was a 3-year break between the publication of the 1st and 2nd book and the 3rd book. And so I think Rebekah Weatherspoon actually grew as a writer in that time frame. So the 3rd book just really hung together a lot better, and the characters were more sort of differentiated and unique. So I think I might do a separate video reviewing this trilogy, so I won't talk too much about it. But just in a nutshell, we have 3 books. We have 3 heroines who are all best friends. They all know each other, and so there's a little bit of continuity through the books because you keep hearing the same side characters mentioned. And we see those very strong female friendships maintained throughout all 3 books. And then the title of the trilogy, Beards and Bondage, sort of gives it away. There is a BDSM element to the sexual preferences of the people in these books. All of the couples in these books do stuff in the BDSM submission dominance world in different ways, and so it's really cool to see a lot of different ways that can be portrayed. And the heroines all suffer something pretty traumatic either in the first couple pages of the book or before the book opens, and then are dealing with that, and then also dealing with a new romantic relationship, and how sort of grief and romance, how there can be space for both of those things, or sometimes one needs to take priority over the other in your life. And so I think all of that is handled very well in these 3 books as the characters move through those different spaces. So yeah, really fascinating series. And the relationships in the first 2 books are cisgender heterosexual relationships, and then in the 3rd book we have a polyamorous triangle with a queer relationship among 2 people in the triangle. So really cool. Yeah, just a nice range of relationships. So anyway, I'll talk further about these in a separate video. Okay, the 2nd book that I finished in November is The Path of Daggers, book number 8 in Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time series. This is a reread for me. This is the 5th time. This was the 5th time, I think, that I read this book. So I'm not really going to talk about it much. It's The Wheel of Time. It's awesome. There are also some annoying things about it. This book is in what people call the slog of sort of the middle books of the series. But in contrast to book number 7, it did really pick up the pace. And so I actually really enjoyed reading this book. It felt like things were happening and we were seeing real momentum in the series and in the characters. This was very satisfying to read. If I remember correctly, book 9, which I'm going to try to read in December, slogs way down again. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, this was still very enjoyable. Okay, and then and then after that is my Kindle book. So I read The Mad Ship, which is book number 2 in Robin Hobb's epic fantasy Live Ship Traders trilogy. And I read that as a buddy read with David Wiley. And Rachel, whose name I'm totally blanking on, or whose booktube channel I'm totally blanking on, so I will pause for a second to look that up. Okay, Rachel's channel name is Rachel, excuse me, Rachel is Reading. She's still a pretty new booktube find for me, which I feel a little bit bad about given that we've been buddy reading a book for the past several weeks. So I've only watched a few videos on her channel so far, but they are really, really excellent. She thinks deeply about the books that she reads and talks about them in ways that I really enjoy. So link to her channel down below. And I talk about David Wiley a lot, link to his channel down below as well. So yes, The Mad Ship, book number 2. I did a glowing standalone review video for the first book in that trilogy, The Ship of Magic, which I will link to down below, earlier this year. And Mad Ship just continued my love of the series. Those books just blow me away. I was sort of in a book coma after I finished The Mad Ship and needed like a break of a day before I could pick up the next book. It was just amazing. And one of the things I really liked in The Mad Ship is in the first book, we were really focused on individual characters and how their plot lines were happening and their character development. And in The Mad Ship, we get a little bit more development of some of the higher level politics of the world in which these characters are existing. And it feels really natural. Like the characters are sort of focused on their very own selfish personal concerns in the first book. And as they sort of move through those, they come to this sort of bigger awareness of all these other things that are going on and start to really care about and make movement in these bigger areas. And I really like that. It's a very realistic character development for me to see in a fantasy novel. So I really appreciated that. And then we also get a lot more unfolding of the lore and the history and the magic in this world, and it's just absolutely beautiful. So if you like fantasy, go read Live Ship Traders. Wonderful series. And then finally, the fourth book I read, but I already talked about that last romance book. So the final book I'm going to talk about is The Shy Tulip Murders by Rebekah Rothenberg. This was a mystery, and it was just something I picked up totally randomly at my parents' house because I was feeling book coma from finishing The Mad Ship, and I didn't want to read all of my nonfiction for Nonfiction November that I'd brought with me. So I picked this randomly off my mom's shelves, and it was perfect. It was exactly what I wanted at that moment. So this was a 4-star mystery for me. It follows a very smart, charismatic woman named Claire Sharples. She is a scientist, and she's working in an agricultural research station in California's Central Valley, and she works specifically with plant diseases. And in the beginning of this book, she is getting caught up in a local environmental group that is organizing to stop some of the logging activities that are happening in the national forests that are sort of up in the mountains on the edges of the Central Valley. And as Claire gets a little bit deeper into this environmental group's workings, she realizes sort of how much opposition there is from the logging community and even from some people within the Forest Service itself, and we get tension building. And then she finds a rare flower in an area that is slated to be logged, and then shortly after, one of the environmentalists dies. The most vocal environmentalist. And so there's a lot of possible people who could have perpetrated this. There's some jealous current lovers and ex-lovers of the person who was murdered. There's all of the logging interests. So it's a pretty interesting setup. I ended up being a little bit disappointed in how it was wrapped up. I feel like it could have been more interesting than the end was, but solid read. Like I said, 4 stars, extremely enjoyable. I just ripped through it. I couldn't put it down, so that was really fun. And this is the third in a series that all feature the same protagonist, Claire Sharples, and they're all botanically related. There's something about a flower in all of them, so I haven't read any of the others, but now I'm really curious to go back and read certainly the first 2, because those are mentioned in this one, sort of her history of being periphery to murders, and then her sort of particular expertise on the botanical and environmental connection for some of the deaths in the town leads her into sort of helping with some of the problem solving. So I think that's a really cool premise as a biologist. I'm like, who wouldn't like that? So yeah, very enjoyable. All right, that is what I read in November. Still managed to talk for 10 minutes about not very many books. I hope you all had a good reading month, and looking forward to seeing what everyone's reading in December. Thanks. Bye.